Today, on the Shrew Dudes podcast, we are going to talk about a few different things. In this week in satire, we're going to address how the vote counting isn't done until the Democrat votes have been counted twice. Yes, we said it. In the rant of the week, we're going to address how the Democrats and the establishment are already blaming a plethora of reasons why they are going to lose the midterms, like voter ID laws for trans people.
But clearly it's not their fault.
Yeah, clearly it's not because of mismanagement
Never
of government or terrible policies.
Yeah, never.
In the New World Order, we're going to address how parenting is being rewritten to benefit the depraved and the depressed and the dissociative.
You're basically like, servants.
Yep.
That are kids' whims.
Oh, yes. And then finally, in our douche of the week, we are going to go after Anne Hathaway and her stupid pro-abortion rant. Because it was about time.
Yeah. You never go
can't
full
stay
Hathaway.
that young and that pretty forever.
Nope.
Sometimes you just go full stupid. All of that and more on the Shrew Dudes podcast. All right, welcome to another Thursday live stream. I corrected myself. I corrected myself.
Almost. That was close.
See, this is what happens, people. When you do a one take of the entire show, you are going to make mistakes. We accept that. We are not perfect. We are wondrous, but not perfect.
Speak for yourself.
Shame, sin, pride, humility is the beginning of wisdom.
Yeah. Love how you have to say it in like a, what was that, like a Princess Bride kind of voice? It's like, oh no, no, it's from Robin Hood Men in Tights when he gives that speech. It's like, we may
the Winston Churchill voice. Humility is the beginning of wisdom.
That's exactly what came to mind. I was like, yeah, he's going.
Yeah, there. Winston Churchill. Now, do you remember what the famous line from that Winston Churchill speech is?
Never give up, never surrender.
Okay, like, that's one of the famous lines.
I don't know what.
And we will defend our isle, whatever the cost may be.
And then everyone was falling asleep. I was like, yeah, that clinches it.
Yep.
That is good humor right there. Good
but
comedy.
That speech from Winston Churchill is actually quite good.
Yes, it is.
Like, for a motivational speech, you got it there, Winnie. You got it.
Definitely got it.
Definitely got it. Anyways, so for those who are just joining the channel, I know we have a lot of new subs lately from a lot of different sources. Thank you, Laura Clausen, for promoting the show.
Yeah.
That was pretty dope. I really liked that. I was squealing with glee yesterday morning.
Even was like sad as a little schoolgirl.
I was on the way to work. I'm like, it's cold and that sucks, but this is making me very happy and warm inside.
Laura Clausen's shout out was keeping him warm.
I know. And I had people pointing it out. It's like, you got promoted by Laura Clausen. I'm like, I did. Yeah.
Oh, Steven.
I know. So for those who are just joining our live stream, we stream on Twitch and we stream on YouTube. If you want to comment, have questions, put it on either one of those platforms. We'll try and respond to it as quickly as possible. Not always going to be right away, just because it's me
I'll
providing commentary and, of course, doing the show at the same time. So it can be difficult to kind of keep an eye on everything at once.
I'll be watching both.
So we try and alternate and try to keep everyone entertained and all of that. Some housekeeping before we begin. A reminder that this coming Tuesday, of course, is midterm elections. We will be going over to our friend Jojo's house. And we're going to be doing sporadic live streams. We might set up somewhere in his house. And we might have him join us for a few of them. Or some other people that come to the party. Should be interesting. So we'll let you know. I'll tweet about it, and I'll post on Gitter and Parlor about when we're going to be going live. So you'll have some warning. It won't just be like, "Hey, everybody."
Do you know who we're gonna watch? Because like, obviously, there's gonna be like a lot of different like shows that are gonna be doing live streams about the election. I figure like my top 3 choices are obviously Louder Crowder is doing their live stream. Timcast is also doing their live stream, and Blaze TV is doing a live stream.
Yeah. So we're gonna live stream their live stream.
Well, I mean, you can check in as we can check in. I'll be following them for sure because that's where you're gonna get a lot of the live results.
Yeah, that is. And of course, we'll also have access to live results pages and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's good.
So it should be a fun night, very entertaining. Check it out. Come join the conversation. It'll mostly be user driven because you can't just endlessly talk about results. Especially not for like 4 hours, which is going to be basically the time that we're going to be there. But before we jump into the stories, we have some fairly interesting video. I had a fairly interesting video to watch. I actually caught this on like Facebook Reels yesterday, and I was like, I know this is staged, but it's still awesome.
It was very well done.
It was very well done.
It looks
like it's like instantaneous, and then you're like, okay, this was staged, but they played it off well.
So well done.
So if you're wondering what we're talking about, let's check it out now.
When the security guard is in the way.
Get him to move.
It's so ridiculous. The head flip. What?
It's like, yeah, what up? That was good, man. That was good.
Like, yep, I did that. Yeah.
That's right. That's how you do it.
It's
basically
funny.
like what do you call those things? Those people that spontaneously start dancing, whatever, in like public places. What are those called?
Flash mobs.
Yeah, it's like a flash mob. Basically, like that's kind of like a mix of flash mob with choreographed dance and all that. Yeah. I liked it.
Oh yeah, it was quite pleasant.
He was good.
He was
clearly not a security guard. I mean, clearly like like an actual professional dancer or something like that, dressed like a security guard just for the joke. But man, that was fun. Guy's got moves.
Guy does got moves.
That's right.
Alrighty. So now we will jump from that into our favorite segment. This week it's time.
Back to the B.
Back to the B. So Biden says it may take days for Democrat votes to be double counted.
Not to mention, they also have to make sure that all the dead people have had their chance.
Yes,
to
of course.
Vote as well. Very important.
Friends don't let dead friends vote Democrat.
Yeah, that's right.
So as the date of next week's midterm elections approaches, President Joe Biden used his Wednesday night address to warn everyone that the results may not be immediately known, because it may take several days for enough Democrats' votes to be harvested and double counted. Despite the fact that the third world countries around the globe are capable of tallying their votes on the same day as their elections, it's simply not realistic to expect that from the world's most technologically advanced nation. Biden shouted with an unnecessary amount of anger to the assembled crowd made up entirely of White House staffers and the media.
Did you mix like Biden with like Ben Shapiro, like make him talk extra fast?
Yes, because it says that he shouted with. I guess I could just do like the Biden voice, but just louder. Folks, we've got to take our time. Find out how far behind we are, and wait for the unmarked vans carrying bags of ballots to arrive in the middle of the night.
It's like Biden sounds like Grandpa Abe Simpson. It's like, oh my god, everything's going down.
Then we gotta find out how many times we gotta count each ballot. Tomato soup. Corn pop.
That's right.
Throwing it out of shape under pressure.
That was pretty good, actually. I'll give you that.
Yep. As First Lady Joe Biden and Secret Service agents quickly grabbed the president and pulled him away from the podium, White House spokesman Holly Cost provided the media with a backtracking statement. What the president was actually trying to say is that we will make sure our democratic process plays out in its entirety without anyone's right to vote being suppressed. There's simply no time limit on counting votes, even if various state laws clearly state otherwise.
Gotta love the name Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
At publishing time, Democrat operatives across the country were continuing to stock up on snacks to make sure the voting machines at polling stations were successfully connected to the internet in preparation for next week's marathon vote manufacturing sessions.
Very important.
Woo!
You gotta make sure that you gotta make sure they got internet.
Straight fire from the bee. Yeah, got to make sure they have internet, and of course, got to make sure that they're connected to the internet. And I just said that. Got to make sure that there's nobody watching.
You're basically double chatting yourself, aren't you?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
At the same time, the other part is that you got to make sure you have those tables with lots of room underneath, like a drape, tablecloth, to make sure you can store all your camera equipment. That's super important. You got to make sure to keep that going.
Yep, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
But we're gonna see if there's any shenanigans next week. That's gonna be one of the things that I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on for. What do you think the chances are, Stephen?
Oh, of shenanigans?
Shenanigans,
super duper high.
and happenings, and all sorts of unexpected, things like trucks driving across state lines with mysterious packages.
Okay, hold on. Conqueror, are you talking about the Korea Halloween massacre?
No, I think he's talking about the North Korea launched a nuke. Because I saw that on some kind of news site that they launched a nuke of some kind, but I don't know what the full story was. So, I think I was right. Launched a nuke. I'll take a look at it. Why don't you take us into our next segment, Stephen? I'll take a look and I'll send it to you in case we find it. Okay.
Okay, so it's North Korea nuclear testings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Oh no, the Halloween. Oh. I have not. I admit I have not seen a whole lot of strange things, but I haven't looked into it. I was just like, oh, holy crap! There's 149 people dead from this Seoul Halloween stampede.
Really?
Yeah, there was a massive stampede on Halloween, and 149 people died. So
that is, but I hadn't heard about that.
I hadn't heard anything really. I had heard that there was just really poor mismanagement at the public official level, and that led to panic and a stampede. And I hate that I cannot see. Oh, now there's 150 people dead? Shoot. 150 plus injured. No stamp. Okay, well, I was uninformed. From what I had read that there was a stampede, but I'm obviously wrong because I've only read the brief clips of the headlines.
Well, the one I heard about was this is from the Huff Post. North Korea fires 23 missiles, prompting air raid alert in South Korea. This is 8 hours ago.
Interesting.
So I was two potential stories from one from North Korea, one from South Korea.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Koreas are not having a good week.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quite bad.
Right.
Alrighty.
But anyways, well, let's go into our rant of the week here, man.
Indeed.
Indubitably.
Indubitably. Let's go into the rant of the week. So, studio mode. Because we always have to do it properly.
Uh-huh.
Transition.
Red alert.
Steven's is right.
I am the director. I am the controller and master of all.
I am the law.
So the rant of the week is that Democrats and the establishment are already finding ways to excuse their loss. So NBC News reports voter ID laws disproportionately affect trans people.
Mm-hmm.
Voter identification laws are popular with the majority of Americans because, duh.
Because they, because cheating is kind of frowned upon.
Cheating is generally frowned upon. You know what was actually funny? When they were filming Biden going to vote in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Or in
DC?
Yeah. Is he from No, he's not. He's not
He's from Delaware.
Delaware, sorry. I knew it was
Was
one
it
of those
Delaware?
tiny ones. Yep, Delaware.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the lady asked him for ID, and I'm like, oh, she's racist.
He's white. You can't be racist against
I
white
know,
people.
I know. But here's just a little clip from NBC
Hmm.
to talk about how it's really, really bad and dehumanizing to ask for voter ID of trans people.
Ugh.
Gen Z gears up to hit the polls. Transgender voters are concerned they might be blocked from casting their ballots.
Yeah, that's because a growing number of states are enforcing stricter voter identification laws that disproportionately impact the community.
NBC Out reporter Joe Yerkeba joins us now with more on this. Joe, good morning to you. So first of all, how can voter ID laws create obstacles for transgender people? And where do we see some of the strictest voter ID laws?
Sure, yeah. So voter ID laws disproportionately impact trans people because trans people are more likely to have IDs without the name that they go by and the gender marker that reflects.
Okay, hold on. Oh, don't you
Trying
do that
figure
to
out
me.
What they are.
How they present. And
All
recent
of
research
these
shows that just over
are pretty much
200,000
all
eligible
Republican
trans
states.
voters in 31 states that both conduct their elections mostly in person and require or request ID at the polls don't have IDs that reflect their gender identities and the names they go by. And, you know, the states that have the strictest voter ID laws are mostly concentrated in the South and Midwest. So you're, you know, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Kansas. So voters there are going to be most affected.
Yeah, that's stupid.
So Joe Yerkeba, what? They're obviously like LGBT. Did they say he was like our out
Yeah,
reporter?
an out reporter.
An out reporter. Oh,
Yep.
okay. Well,
hmm
talk about tokenism, hey? He's like your token LGBT. Like
I love how they're talking about Gen Z voters.
Mhm.
It's like, as everyone gears up to hit the polls, it's like, no, Gen Z, because of course there's a far higher ratio of transgender or people claiming to be transgender amongst Gen Z.
Well, the thing is, younger voters tend generally to vote Democrat or don't vote in Canada, vote Liberal because they're dumb and stupid and they want free stuff and they don't understand how the world works, and so of course they vote for the party that gives them free stuff, and the party that can more easily and manipulate their desire to be goody two shoes by playing on their emotions. So not surprised there. The dumb thing about this whole thing is that you can pretty much find anything, and it can be like oh my gosh, this affects trans people so much more proportionately. Oh my gosh, there's a flood somewhere. Trans people, how are they affected? It's always something, right? But the big thing is that what this person is advocating, they're saying you show up at a poll, and your ID doesn't match what you want, and so they're basically creating a what do you call it, a problem in the ID system, and then they're complaining that I've created this problem, and the world is not bending around me and catering to my needs, and so this should be an outrageous to everybody. But this is part of the entire MO of the transgender community. What they want is they want to change reality. They're basically advocating for magic, that you can magically become whatever you decide to in your mind, and then everyone has to pretend you're right. It's like a magic trick. Here I have a hat and I'm going to pull a rabbit out of it. And you pull and you reach into your hat and you pull out nothing. You're like, you see, it's a rabbit, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a rabbit. Oh, that's cool. Congrats, that was a good magic trick, right? It's the same thing, but with their gender. They claim they magically become the gender that they claim, and everyone has to play along. And if you don't play along, you're a jerk. And this has serious repercussions in real life, including in voting, because they basically want they expect and they demand that everyone play along. And of course, this is going to affect them when they go into the elections. Essentially, they don't want any consequences for their little game of make believe, because they're like, well, the whole world has to make me feel good, otherwise the whole world is jerks. So it's that this is basically nothing more than trying to manufacture controversy and fake outrage. It's basically what it is. And it works for people who are easily manipulated, people who genuinely want to be like I want to be a hero. I want to change the world in a positive way. Like, oh, we found a good way. You can make these people feel really good, and we'll give you like lots of accolades for making them feel good. Be like, oh, sweet. It's like doesn't cost you anything. You just got to play along, and you feel pretty good about yourself. And unfortunately, they're trying to create just a nonsense system to try to cater to them. Right, Stephen? Mm-hmm.
Just doing some shameless promotion.
Oh, I figured. That's why I was just kind of taking over. Doing a rant. I was going ranty.
Good and well, yeah. Like, if you're already finding excuses for failing, and if you're already saying, well, we don't have any evidence of this, but we're just going to say it because it sounds virtue signally, then you really don't have an argument. Like, I love the hair, Jeremy's Razors commercials.
Jeremy's Razors.
And they're like,
that's right.
Well, we have virtue. We don't just signal about not having it. I'm like, that's actually pretty good. That's a good line. Don't just signal about not having it. But those aren't the only people who are already trying to whine about the midterm elections because it's not going to go the Democrats' way. The Democrat in chief, Joe Biden, warns election deniers pose threat, blames Trump because it's a Tuesday. Actually, this was posted yesterday, so it's a Wednesday. President Joe Biden said on Wednesday that threats by some Republican candidates to refuse to accept the results from the November 8th elections if they lose is a threat to democracy. And he blamed former President Donald Trump for inspiring them. Make no mistake, democracy is on the ballot for all of us. Biden said in a speech just days before Americans decide whether Democrats maintain control of both the United States Senate and the House of Representatives or hand over power to Republicans. Biden, speaking at the Washington's Union Station not far from Capitol Hill, used the hammer attack on Paul Pelosi, of course, husband of U.S. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as evidence that democracy is under threat less than 2 years after the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol.
Nancy Pelosi?
I might have.
I think you did. I was like, Pelosi. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Nancy Pelosi.
Pelosi. We're turning a Russian. You know, we're gonna we
have lost him. So that happened. So sometime soon we'll have Danny back. Maybe. We'll see.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Mr. Hagana. It was like a good solid 30 seconds of that. That was funny. I was like, I don't know what's happening, but it's entertaining. So, anyways.
Bringing it back to normal.
Bringing it back. So, according to, of course, the official report from the mainstream media, the assailant entered the home asking, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Same words used by the mob when they stormed in.
Okay,
he urged voters to think long and hard about the moment we're in.
We didn't cover that too deeply, but here's a big question, because they use this all the time. Biden keeps repeating this. Who heard that? Who heard him saying, "Where's Nancy"? Have you ever thought about that?
Mm-hmm.
Like according to every article I was reading, he broke in secretly, no alarm system, and then he showed up in Paul Pelosi's bedroom, surprised them. So who exactly heard him say, "Where's Nancy"? Like the whole concept, like, you know, of him yelling that like out loud doesn't make any sense.
No,
it's just I'm like, I love how nobody questions that. But anyways, go on.
Go on, please continue.
Continue.
Exactly. So, as I stand here today, there are candidates running for every level of office in America, for governor, for Congress, for Attorney General, for Secretary of State, who won't committing to accepting the results of the elections they're in. Yeah, American democracy is under attack because Trump will not accept the results of the 2020 election that was totally free and fair.
Totally. Safest and most secure election ever.
Yes. Hello, YouTube.
Wink, wink.
We're
hint,
watching
hint.
you too.
That's right.
Yeah, wink, wink. Except, of course, members of the Democrats who had already said that, well, if we don't win, it's a loss to democracy. But that's what they say. All they're trying to push the idea of is things are not free and fair, things are not democratic, things are not safe, things are not just if the Democrats or if the liberals or if the establishment loses. That's what they're really trying to push here. They're not trying to say, well, they're trying to say the Republicans are dangerous, but it's falling on deaf ears. There was a video a few weeks ago from Freedom Tunes, and it was actually quite funny. It was like, so we're just trying to find who gives an F about January 6th. And they're just like, I don't give an F. Everybody they talk to is just like, I don't give an F. Because that's how the American people feel about it. It's just like, it's just been pounded over and over and over again incessantly, but it doesn't mean anything.
Here, Steven, I'm going to take out my handy, leftist dictionary to try to figure out. Okay, hold on. I just got to flip to it. Let's see here. Okay, here it is. Democracy. According to them, when they say, democracy, it's a stake, it's we suck at everything else, and we basically need an excuse to tell you because we're desperate. That's basically what it means. Basically, it's what they use when they have nothing else to offer you, because obviously they screwed everything else up and they know it, and they're like, well, democracy. That's it. It's basically don't look at our record. Don't look at the how much we screwed you over during COVID. Don't look at the inflation. Don't look at anything else. Just if you don't vote for us, though, it's the Chicken Little approach.
Yeah, it is.
The world's going to end if you don't vote for us. That's pretty much all they got. That's it. Because they suck at everything else.
Mm-hmm. But of course, now they're after all of this remarks from Biden, they try and walk it back. Jean-Pierre, ridiculous to ask if Biden thinks voting Republican is a threat to democracy.
My gosh.
So, of course, from CNS, President Joe Biden repeatedly condemns extremist MAGA Republicans and warns of threats to democracy, as he did in a political speech Wednesday night. But according to his spokeswoman, Biden doesn't mean that voting Republican will ruin the Republic.
Yeah. Go down to the video. It has the actual clip.
Fantastic. You are a terrible, terrible press secretary and a stupid woman.
The worst. Yeah.
Thank you, Kareem. Following up on your comment that there's an alarming number of Republicans who are saying they're not going to accept election results. Does that mean President Biden thinks it is a threat to democracy if somebody votes Republican?
No, that's a ridiculous question. No.
Why is that a ridiculous question?
Because American people should have their right to vote for whomever they want. The voting is a sacred right. It is something that the president wants to protect at every turn, and he has done that. He's taken actions to protect the right to vote, and you see Democrats in Congress also doing the work to protect the right to vote. We are talking about MAGA Republican officials who have been very clear about this, who say they are pro-police, but then they are also pro-insurrectionists. That is, you cannot be pro-police and be pro-insurrectionists, who also say they want to defund the FBI. That's a problem.
For good reason.
That is a problem that we are seeing, and who I've said have been very clear that they have been very clear about pushing and peddling the big lie, peddling.
Yeah.
By the way, whenever a politician or
talks
any
about the
public
big lie,
no. Whenever they say to be clear or I want to be clear, that's pretty much a dead giveaway that they're about to lie or that they're currently lying to you. That is true in every political stage. When Justin Trudeau or what is her name, Freeland, say I want to be clear, it's like that's pretty much a declaration. I'm about to lie to you. Like it's right there. Of course, the big lie is basically it's loaded language. They're borrowing from Nazi.
Yep. Nazi Germany when they were trying to say that, because of course the original big lie was that essentially Jews were responsible for Germany losing World War I and their economy collapsing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the original big lie.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and the reason
not
why
a good
they're
reference
doing that,
point, Kareen.
no, it's the same reason that they use with like calling them semi-fascist or anti or like like half fascist or whatever, like portion of fascist that they want to push. They basically they're pathological liars. So of course you can't believe a single word they say. But this is the problem. It's like they say one thing. So Biden says like you have to vote for us or else it's the end of democracy. Are you saying that like if you vote for Republicans, that's the end of democracy? It's like whoa, that's just a dumb question. How could you even ask that question? I'm like, you literally implied that in your actual comments. You literally basically said vote for us or else democracy dies. It's like, so you're saying that if I don't vote for you, then then I'm voted for Republican, then I want democracy to die. Like, no, that's just dumb. This is the game they play. That basically right there. Kareen, I don't care enough to remember her name. She basically all she does is gaslight. That's exactly what she did. Like that's a ridiculous question. Why do they do that? Because they want to make it sound like the people asking the question, the people holding them accountable, are the dumb ones, not themselves and not their party, for being complete and total morons and providing very completely contradictory points. Of course, she pushes up that oh, you're pro-insurrection. Like nobody, Stephen, can you think of anybody in the Republican Party who actually is pro-insurrection? Anybody? Can you think of?
Liz Cheney?
Yeah, possibly, actually.
Because it's the only thing that got her favor from the Democrats.
Yeah,
but
much.
She's no longer a member of the Republican Party because she is a Democrat shill.
Wyoming said, hell no.
Exactly. Thank goodness for that. Because Liz Cheney sucks. We're going
to get that Liz Cheney out of here, faster than pop.
Liz Cheney.
Armadillo in an oven.
Yeah, I don't know where that reference was from. I don't really want to know either.
I'm just saying white trash.
So
what's this Twitter thing?
What's this Twitter thing? Oh, well, that's the news you may have missed.
Oh, okay. I thought this was part of the actual
no.
original rant. So basically, long story short, to kind of summarize the whole rant, is that the Democrats cannot win if they're honest. That's basically what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. They can't win on their record. They can't win if they're honest. And so they basically have to play dirty pool and they have to cheat. And this is what makes it so difficult for people like us and people like regular conservatives like Tim Pool or Latimer Crowder or Ben Shapiro or Ali Besnucky or whoever it is. We look at these people and we look what they say and we're like you must really think people are stupid when they say that voter ID laws are racist. I'm like, no, they're the most basic form of like making sure that people aren't cheating. But you're trying to claim that it's racist to have voter ID. It's just like, oh my gosh. So I'm glad to see that the red wave is not only forming, but it's getting bigger. And I'm glad to see that people are not buying and that this messaging isn't working.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, this is the party of, the ends justifies the means. We can do whatever we want and we'll get away with it. This is how normalized this has become. But this really shouldn't be normal. No. The media, government officials, everyone else, they're all lying to you and they don't care. And that's really sad. That's something that should change. So that's all we got to say about that.
Exactly.
Well
said, Daniel. Well said.
That's all I got to say about
That's all you got to say about that. But now we have plenty more to say about the news you may have missed. To talk about the news that you may have missed.
Yeah, I think you're big on the double speak today.
I always do the double speak for the news you may have missed.
Do you really?
Yes, always.
I just noticed
because it reinforces the idea that they may have missed it.
Something I feel like I missed something here, Stephen.
Be silent. So,
all right, go ahead, man. Get
speaking about the White House, Twitter praised for fact check on White House account. Fact checks are getting factual now. Fact check the propagandist. Cheer one user. So conservatives on Twitter cheered after the official White House Twitter account was slapped with a community-based fact check on its recent claims about the Biden administration's Social Security policy. In a recent tweet that has since been deleted, the White House Twitter account stated, "Seniors are getting the biggest increase in their Social Security checks in 10 years through President Biden's leadership." Cross out, it should be another fact check for cross out leadership for senility. So, yeah. However, through Twitter's Birdwatch feature, which allows certain approved users the ability to annotate or add context, someone fact-checked the statement. So, underneath the White House tweet, a text box provided context of the statement explaining that the increase in Social Security is just a cost of living adjustment, or COLA, to compensate for inflation. And stated that seniors will receive large Social Security benefit increases due to annual cost of living adjustments, which is based on the inflation rate. President Nixon in 1972 signed into law automatic benefit adjustments.
Do you know why they deleted that tweet, Stephen?
Because instead of it pointing to his leadership as the result, it was due to his terrible spending and inflationary policy. That was the increase.
They basically admitted, indirectly, that the Social Security, raise was due to his inflation. That he himself caused inflation. They're like, we can't have that. We can't actually claim that we caused inflation. That's not cool. So they had to backtrack so fast. I was pretty proud. Proud of that one.
It was funny.
It was very, very good. All right, take us in, bro.
All right, well, you got the next one.
All right, so the next one. This is from Newsmax. So the story is, House GOP preps 1,000-page report on politicized DOJ under Biden. All right, so according to Newsmax, Republican members of the House Judiciary Committee are reportedly preparing to release a 1,000-page roadmap Friday, so tomorrow, of potential investigations into how the Biden administration has politicized the Justice Department and the FBI. Boom! I love it. Love to see this kind of stuff. Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio, ranking member of the committee, has been gathering information from FBI and DOJ whistleblowers detailing allegations of politicized justice under President Joe Biden. This report is a roadmap of where Jordan will go. Lots of whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork and complain about the FBI. Jordan is pursuing these vectors into the FBI. So happy to hear it. Stephen, can you can you name even 1, 2, or 3 things that the FBI should be fact checked for or investigated for this year?
Project Veritas raid.
Yep.
The raid on that pro-lifer.
Yep, absolutely.
Mar-a-Lago raid.
Absolutely. I would say the investigation of the DOJ into parents at school boards.
Yep.
That should be investigated. I'd say the whole collusion with media.
With big tech.
With big tech. That
and
should
of course,
be
Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden. Why are they not charging that poor boy?
Yeah.
They should. But yeah, so the reason this is important is because obviously the House is a guarantee. That is a given. It's not whether the Republicans will take the House, is how many seats they'll get. I'm hearing anywhere between 30 and 40.
Yep.
Picks. The Senate is also looking possible. We might not just get 52, but possibly 54, according to some reports. That's all good news because the House launches investigations. The Senate has to be the one to decide whether or not those investigations are prosecuted. So the fact that they're basically showing you that they intend to do it is good news, because one of the big fears we always have with Republicans is they get in there and they do nothing. This seems to at least indicate that maybe they're doing something. I'm happy about that. Take it away, Stephen.
All right, so the next story. Sunny Hoskin likens white women who vote GOP for Roach's voting for raid. Sorry.
That's not controversial at all.
Oh, I thought I was going to sneeze. The View co-host Sunny Hostin is under fire for likening white women who vote Republican to Roach's voting for raid. Hostin made the controversial comment on Thursday's episode of the ABC Daytime Show as she and her co-host discussed next week's midterm elections. Hostin expressed surprise that women are planning to cast their ballots for lawmakers who celebrated the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade. I read a poll yesterday that white Republican suburban women are now going to vote Republican. It's almost like Roach's voting for raid, right? Hostin remarked. Her comparison was rejected by Republican co-host Republican.
Big, huge quotation marks there.
Yeah.
Say it Dr. Evil. Her Republican.
Republic shill. Alyssa Farah Griffin, who angrily snapped, "That's insulting to the voter."
You think? Gosh.
Hostin's remarks sparked controversy on Twitter, which was branded disgusting and appalling. This type of rhetoric is absolutely appalling, and Sunny Hostin should be fired by ABC when user declared.
Good luck on that.
Yeah, good luck with that. If Whoopi wasn't for saying the Holocaust in Nazi Germany wasn't about race, good luck.
I like that the follow-up to the person said, this type of despicable language was used during the Nazi Holocaust, communist purges, and the Rwandan genocide. Because they did. They compared the people to like filthy, diseased, flea-carrying rats. And if you actually watch the beginning of the movie Inglourious Basterds, that's the main villain. He kind of like makes an entire analogy about how Jews are like rats, and they basically, they deserve to get what they get and all that. Do you know who else actually made a comment similar to that, Stephen, this week? Hillary Clinton. She basically said that Republican voters are too stupid to know what's good for them. That's actually what she said. I was like, oh great. I'm glad that you guys think that people are not stupid or somewhat smart and all that. Anyways, lovely. So let's take it on to the New York Post. So according to the New York Post, the audacity of a joke. Obama mocked for painfully unfunny TikTok voting video. Do you have that story?
Yep. Let's just come out. There it goes.
You got this. For a TikTok voting video. All right. Former President Barack Obama wants to save Democrats from a crushing midterm defeat by appearing on TikTok with some painfully nerdy dad jokes, critics said on Wednesday. Obama took to the normally young and hip social media platform to urge viewers to vote on Under the Desk News, which offers Gen Zers quick takes on current event. I don't know if you can actually play the video, but I'm guessing it's as cringy as it sounds.
The desk is kind of my thing. I mean,
but here's the thing: you can stay for now, but when it comes time to voting, you're gonna have to get up. So you can't stay here. You're gonna have to take a little bit of time to vote.
It's now a bad time to say that I voted for McCain in 2008.
As long as you voted.
Oh boy, this is it's funny when Barack Obama was in actual office, he was praised and lauded for being so funny, being so hip and with it. I think they had this one where that actually came back to bite him. Remember that one where he was reading angry texts?
Okay, here. Let's watch the whole thing.
There's our whole thing here.
It's Monday night, and here's what's happened.
B, what are you doing under my desk?
Well, under the desk is kind of my thing. I mean,
but here's the thing: you can stay for now, but when it comes time to voting, you're gonna have to get up. Because you've got climate change legislation on the ballot, you've got gun safety, and if we can elect more pro-choice members of Congress, we can reinstitute Roe versus Wade as the law of the land. So you can't stay here. You're going to have to take a little bit of time to vote.
It's now a bad time to say that I voted for McCain in 2008.
As long as you voted. It's okay.
Go to iwillvote.com and I will see you at the polls.
Yikes.
That wasn't even funny.
Nope.
There was nothing funny about that. It wasn't even clever or anything like that.
It was basically just I'm going to push Democrat talking points.
Yeah.
Because we still think that for most voters, that abortion is most common and most prevalent thing that they're thinking about. Which, for a lot of Republicans and a lot of Christians, it is. Yes. But for most Americans, abortion is not their number one issue. Being able to afford their house, being able to afford gas, and being able to afford groceries and crime are their biggest issues.
Yeah, the issues that the Democrats want to push, climate change, gun control, and what was the last one? Abortion. Those don't even reach the 10% mark. None of those do. They're so low on people's radar. This is why Democrats are being absolutely hammered in these midterms. So glad to see it. They deserve it. They're literally the worst party ever. Seriously. Anyways, man, take it on to the next one.
All right. So
what you got?
Maryland school silent after video shows students inappropriately touching in suspended trans teacher's classroom. My goodness.
You didn't see this.
So School silent after a viral video appears to show students inappropriately touching in the classroom of a teacher who was suspended 1 month ago, according to parents in the district. Video appears to show students engaging in sexual acts and someone dressed as a banana in stockings. An Anne Arundel County School District parent told Libs of TikTok. And the video took place in transgender teacher Willa Hord's classroom. Hord is the supervisor for the school's Gender Sexuality Alliances Club. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it has potentially sensitive content. Let's watch it anyway, because we must expose the evil.
Okay, so they're clearly making out.
Yeah, in class.
In class, of course. I don't know what the other people are doing.
Yep, that's inappropriate.
That's incredibly inappropriate.
I don't know why they do it 3 times.
Yeah,
but
they're
okay.
wearing like fishneck stockings. Is that what they're doing? I don't know what the heck's going on there? That just
tapping through boob.
Ugh.
Yeah, this is weird.
Yep.
So, inappropriate behavior from the educator. Parents reportedly showed a school screenshots from the GSA's club Instagram that claim using a student's dead name is akin to sexual harassment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure it is.
Administrators have been encouraged to use last names when calling students down to the front end office/counselor's office. If you believe a counselor administrator is purposely disregarding this, say something. And the school suspended the teacher with no explanation to parents, according to a letter from the school's principal. The letter states that the educator will be away from our building indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. So, something I just really quick, I'll mention really quick. If you haven't had a chance, go to Relatable with Ali Beth Stuckey.
Mm-hmm.
She did an amazing segment interviewing feminists who like studied this kind of stuff, and today's segment was brutal. They basically talked about how there is a very, very sinister connection and a weird connection with transgender pornography and a lot of the fetishes that you're seeing with in these GSA clubs with transgender activists and grooming of children and all that. It's pretty dark. I recommend you watch it. It's a very good segment that you're gonna do 2 parts. But even I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole goes. So if you understand what's really going on in these GSAs and the transgender activist kind of world, this would not be shocking. But to a regular person who hears that the stuff's happening, this is like, what the heck's going on?
Well, so there was actually just a little tidbit to add. There was a segment from, I believe it was Stephen Colbert. I think it was on the last night or the night before, talking about the Michigan governor race between Dixon and Whitmer. And he openly claimed that Dixon made up this story about this parent who was leaving the Democrats to vote Republican because the school had inappropriate material and they weren't condemning any of this sort of incidents in the classroom. And he's like, yeah, that incident was made up. And the person who actually had brought these stories to light was like, no, I'm the person that Dixon was talking about. You're a liar. And people are going to be leaving the Democrat Party in droves because this is what they're supporting. Mm-hmm. There was a Freedom Tune segment from just this morning. And it was like, okay, what do we support? And it's like, well, we want fiscally responsible tactics. And it's like, and remove penises. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, why do we want? No, we don't want that. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about securing the remove penises. And it's like, stop it. And then eventually it's just like, okay, fine. That'll be your talking point. Remove penises. And remove breasts, too.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was good.
But it's what the thing that they're not telling you is that this is a lot more insidious and dangerous than people are really than they're letting on. So just watch for it. I definitely recommend you to go check out that segment. There's a lot more underneath the surface. This is like an iceberg. You only see the very the thing that they let you to see. They don't let you to see how deep this thing goes and how really notorious and nefarious this is. All right, last story. This is from the Daily Mail.
Yep.
All right, so and court, keep this in mind. This should be very similar in nature to the Paul Pelosi story, so just keep that in mind. So midterms horror as Republican candidates' daughters, 3 and 5, are almost killed after gunman opens fire at North Carolina home where Democrat rival filmed campaign ad with bullet landing close to where they slept. The shooting transpired on October 18th in Hickory at a home belonging to Republican Pat Harrington's parents and fights for an open seat in the famously liberal 14th Congressional District in a contentious race. The congressional candidates' daughters, aged 3 and 5, were asleep in the bedroom directly above the room where the shooting occurred, with the bullet coming from a densely wooded area behind the house. Harrigan, a firearms manufacturer and former Green Beret, has since come forward with cert he would not be intimidated by the shooting and that death threats aren't enough to knock this Green Beret off that mission. Because of these threats, the family said, which has spurred the ex-soldier to don bulletproof vests to campaign events, the two girls had been living with their grandparents for much of the campaign cycle. The kids have since been relocated out of state, while Harrigan, who was not at the residence, has revealed he owns a property near the home where the shooting occurred. No injuries were reported. The FBI launched an investigation of the gunman shot the home of relatives of a Republican running for Congress, with the bullet landing just feet away from the children. So basically, what's going on here is this happened on October 18th. Do you remember when the Paul Pelosi story happened?
It came to light on. It was big things on Friday morning.
Yeah, so Friday morning is when it happened. That would be October 28th. Okay. This attack on this Republican happened 10 days earlier. October 18th. I just looked at it, a little over 10 days earlier. Now, the funny thing is we haven't heard a peep about this. I hadn't even heard about it. I didn't even know that this had happened. But the crazy thing about this is that while Paul Pelosi, you could actually make, at the best case scenario, this was just some crazy guy hopped up on drugs that just happened to get into his house somehow. Or you can make the worst case scenario that this was far more nefarious and all that. But that guy, it was an opportunity kind of a thing. Here, this was an intentional attempt to harm people, including this Republican candidate. These are so much worse because while that guy was just an opportunist, it's an actual attempt. And if his daughters had actually been shot, that would have been horrifying. The fact that we don't hear about this kind of stuff should really make you wonder about how desperately the Democrats are trying to control the narrative. This is why the whole Twitter thing is good news, because we're hoping that that there'll be at least an opening where real free speech will actually be able to come through. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. That's the news you may have missed this week.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, it is. And now we are going to transition from talking about transgender teachers and all those sorts of horrible things as congressional shootings to talk about Dwayne Wade and how the liberal left is redefining parenting. Quack. I always find that entertaining when I listen to it later. So, Dwayne Wade responds to ex-wife's petition to block daughter Zaya's name, or son's Zaya's name, gender change. So, former Miami Heat player Dwayne Wade took to Instagram Thursday morning to respond to a legal filing from his ex-wife, Siobhan Funches Wade. That is a very interesting way, because I'm sure it's supposed to be saying Siobhan, but it's just a weird way of spelling it. Who objects to their transgender son, and I believe his original name is Zion, legally changing their name and gender. Since this must be a new way of parenting, I guess I have to address these allegations here, which is a damn shame. Dwayne Wade began. Quote, and this is his Instagram post. While I'm on a life-changing trip in our motherland, Africa, I've received a social media post about me forcing our 15-year-old child to be sent when he's not, and to do something against their will, which is totally what he's doing. These are serious and harmful allegations that have hurt our children. While none of us are surprised by Siobhan's attempt to fight Zaya's identity and her unwavering attempt to drag my name through the mud, I'm very disappointed that she continuously finds ways of centering herself and her needs without regards to her children. This report came out while Zaya was in class. This is a kid who has maintained a 4.0 GPAs in honors classes while navigating all this unsolicited and harmful attention and debates about his gender and sexuality from those who are committed to not listening to him, much less even knowing him. Oh no. So he petitioned the court on August 22nd, asking that his 15-year-old son be allowed to change his name to Zaya Malachi Aramis Wade, while Fuchs Wade claims to not have been notified prior to the filing. Dwayne Wade says that Siobhan has decided to pretty much be absent parent to Zaya all on her own.
You know something interesting, Stephen?
And all Fuchs Wade, or all Siobhan wants to do is to wait and prevent her former husband from allowing Zaya to legally change her name and gender until she turns 18.
Mm-hmm.
The age of majority to make permanent changes to our identity.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think that goes far enough, but oh my gosh, like your ex-husband is even opposing to that. Your ex-husband is a terrible person.
Yeah. You know something I'm finding interesting, Stephen? I'm reading this on NBC News. This is a quote from the family. It said, Zaya, who's the boy here, knew two things. He knew straight and he knew gay. But Zaya started doing more research. He was the one that sat down with his family and said, "Hey, I don't think I'm gay." And he went down the list and said, "This is how I identify myself. This is my gender identity." So here's my question: they said like that this kid, they knew what if they could tell if they were gay or not.
Yeah.
How does a kid know that they're gay? Because, like, think about it this way: you're entering the world, you've never experienced having romantic feelings for like the other sex, because that emerges when you hit puberty. Like any adult can tell you. You tell me, Stephen. I can tell anybody else. Any adult can look at that and can remember and be like, when you started getting feelings, opposite sex, when you hit puberty. A child who's 3 years old, they don't know what that is. All they know is they have generic feelings where I like my friend. I like that friend. They don't actually know what that is. Their only experience is
and of course, like if the age in which he announced that his son was changing into a girl,
he was 3 years old.
His son was 12 when they were officially announcing. You don't decide that at 12.
But they also claim that he knew when he was 3.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
That's their
language. I totally agree with Matt Walsh's perspective on this. Dwayne Wade was a mediocre NBA player.
Yep.
Who milked it for all he's worth, and now that he's retired and he's losing popularity and he's losing attention and he's losing focus, this is the time when he decides, okay, now I'm going to try and return to the focus of attention. It's all going to be on me, and I'm going to use my son as a puppet for my campaign to be still relevant again so that I can be celebrated by these insufferable mobs of the LGBT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that you should always think about. Okay, that whole thing, like the whole it's a common video, like it's like, are we the baddies? Like like the German, German soldiers who are like realizing we're the bad guys and all that.
Happens all the time in D&D.
Always ask yourself this question: who is benefiting financially?
Yep.
Because usually,
it's not
in
Zaya
any scenario,
Zion.
The people who are benefiting financially are usually the bad guys. Let me give you a couple examples. If you think about like slavery, who was benefiting from slavery financially? It was the slave owners. So there's a financial benefit to them. Who was benefiting financially from like the Holocaust? It was obviously the Germans, because they were like literally robbing all the Jews of all their property and all their assets and all this kind of stuff. In abortion, who's benefiting financially from abortion? It's the doctors, and it's all of the Planned Parenthood and all these people. who are getting all these benefits. And finally, who's benefiting from who are the bad guys in the vaccine thing? Clearly the people who are benefiting from these vaccines being sold everywhere.
Yep.
So here, if you apply that logic and you apply it here to the story about Dwayne Wade, is there any financial incentive? Yes. He's getting all sorts of money from doing this.
Well, because, the more attention, the more popularity he gains, then, of course, the more opportunity that he has to do advertisements and social media campaigns and all of this to try and still garner what little popularity he had left instead of fading into obscurity with the $200 million that he made being a mediocre player in the NBA.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's basically also making it virtually impossible for his son to ever be a detransitioner.
Yep.
He's basically making that's how incredibly difficult it is because he's too high profile.
Yep.
I think somebody talked about I Am Jazz.
Yep.
That transgender, somebody talked about it recently, and I remember hearing they said that Jazz, they've kind of dropped off the map, but they also kind of showed some pictures, and they showed that Jazz has put on a crap ton of weight. It's not body shaming; it's more like when I remember a friend of mine, she has an autistic daughter. They had to put her on all these crazy drugs in order to help her with all of the things that were going on in her mind. She had a whole bunch of what do you call it? Very serious. Yeah, see, she has some very serious mental issues, and so in order to help her, they had to put her on these drugs, and these drugs actually caused an immense amount of weight gain. I think the same thing's happening with I Am Jazz because this poor child has basically been put on lifelong medical interventions, and as a result, I think that this is messing with her entire body, and I think this is why she's gaining so much weight because of all this medical interventions. But if the problem is Jazz, what are they going to do? They're too high profile.
Yep.
They can't undo it. They can't go back because if they go back, they're going to be dropped and abandoned by everyone. They're going to be dropped like a rock, and unfortunately, that means that any support that they may have had in any kind of anything, it's going to be gone.
Yep.
So unfortunately, Dwayne Wade's doing this to their
child.
child.
Dwayne Wade's doing it to his child, and then he pretends, of course, that he's doing this to support them. So this is how he defines what role a parent has. Sorry, everybody.
It's pretty incredible. What keeps you going, fighting for her?
Just being a father and just seeing our child grow up every day and doing what you're supposed to do as a parent is to make sure that you sit back and, you see what it is in life that they want to do and you try to go there with them and try to help them mold them into what it is they want to be and who they want to be. So we're just doing our part, as parents. And we love our kids and we get to see them every day. That's what people on the outside don't get to see, but we know them and we see them all the time. So.
Yeah, and we believe them when they tell us who they are.
What do you say to a dad out there whose daughter has just come home and said, I'm trans? What do you say to that dad?
Well, I say the moment when you were in the hospital and you grabbed your daughter and you looked at your daughter and all the things that went through your mind, all the emotions that went through your mind and how much love fills your heart at that moment. Don't let that ever leave you, no matter what. The one thing as parents, what we do is we find our mini-me's and we try to make them just like us. We just understand, our kids are going to be who they are. It's our job to help mold them and help try to, push them in the right places that they want to go. But just remember that moment, what you said in that hospital that day they were born.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's his parenting advice.
Yeah, that's his parenting advice is, we should allow our kids to do what they want. We shouldn't be focused on making them into mini-me's. We shouldn't be focusing on guiding them the way that they should go. We're guiding them the way that they want to go.
So in other words, kids take the lead.
Yeah, kids. Well, that's his way of saying it's just this wasn't my idea. This was my kid's idea. It's oh yes, your kid at 12 years old totally said, I'm trans, and decided to mold their entire... No, you groomed them, you massive schmuck. And then you're kind of playing it off. Oh, this is what they want. So we're just going along and we're being good parents and we're being supportive and loving. No. You are using them to your own fiscal, financial, and emotional gain. You love the attention. You couldn't even think of losing the spotlight. And so everything for you is, and I'm getting a bit of feedback from Danny here, it's all about how you benefit. Your child is going to suffer for the rest of their lives. And Danny, I lost your video. Just there. You
Yeah,
go.
got it.
And there's no way that they can go back on this decision, because otherwise they will be haunted and they will be attacked forever. And while Danny sorts that out, I'll address the second point that Dwayne made. Dwayne said, it's just like, if somebody comes out, you have to think about when, like, you first held your kids in your arms and the feeling you felt then. It's like, as a parent, the feeling that I felt when I held each of my kids, you pick them up and you think to yourself, okay, I am going to, of course, love them and protect them for the rest of their lives. But you also think to yourself, I have to mold this child into the best outcome for them. I have to not try and make them into a different version of myself. I have to try and turn them into a better person than me. None of our parents were saints. Nobody's parents are. We have to take the mistakes that our parents made and we have to pass on to our children so they don't make the mistakes that we made.
Yeah.
It's not about living their truth. It's about making them into upright, moral, righteous people. That's what parenting is. And that means correcting them, and that means telling your kids when they're wrong.
Yeah, the most important word you'll learn when you're a parent? No. Basically, the most crucial word you should be able to tell your kids. Because here's the thing. If your kids tell you, well, here's what I want to eat, then you basically go out of the house and you basically buy Frosted Flakes, and they have Frosted Flakes for dinner every night. You're following them, but that you're the parent.
You're making your kids happy, but you're not benefiting them in any way.
Yeah,
this is neither. This is not it's not making their kids happy.
Mm-mm.
Or if it is making their kids happy, it's because you brainwashed them.
Well, it's in the short term. You're catering to your child who is misguided, and you're not taking any responsibility as a parent. You're basically trying to justify your bad parenting by saying, "Well, this is what they want, and I'm just supportive."
Yeah, I'm just being helpful.
If your kid decides, I'm going to play out in the street, every single day, and this is like a busy road or something like that, you're playing with his friends, you're like, well, I'm supporting them because that's what they want. I'm like, you should be the one telling them, that is super dangerous. No, you're not going to be playing, this game of Frogger on the highway trying to avoid getting hit by cars, because that's incredibly dangerous. This is not good parenting advice. But unfortunately, in the modern day, parents aren't really given much of a choice. They're told, you must support this cult of children know best, and you can't defy them, you can't even oppose them. One of the things that I found really, really sad about when I was kind of listening to that Ali Beth Stuckey interview with that researcher, is that the transgender community is trying very, very hard to sexualize children at a very young age, because one of the problems is that if a child gets introduced to sexual material too early, it's almost guaranteed they're going to be involved in pornography, and that's going to lead to all sorts of sexually deviant behavior later in life. And sadly, we think that this is an accident. No, this is on purpose, because they know if they expose children to really problematic content way too early, they know that the likelihood of them becoming sexually deviant and really becoming open to all sorts of corruption, it becomes very easy. This is the reason why you don't show children a super scary movie when they're too little and too young to really be able to handle it, because they'll have nightmares for weeks. And I've heard of people that say they watched like The Exorcist or some super crazy scary movie when they were really, really little, and even today they say like, yeah, I'm still scarred by that
Mm-hmm.
because they're not ready.
Nope.
But they're trying to, like, and this is what Dwayne Wade is doing. He calls it compassion, but it's really cruelty, because you're basically you're giving your child instant gratification for long-term
For
loss.
long-term loss and long-term suffering.
And this poor kid's gonna grow up, and one day Zion is gonna realize what his dad did to him, and he's never gonna be able to forgive him because he ruined his life. He's gonna be totally sterile. He's gonna be a lifelong like medical, like basically like like lab rat, because he's gonna have to.
It's just gonna be surgery after surgery and procedure after procedure, and an endless list of a cocktail of drugs.
Yep.
Because that's what these people suffer through, because it's all about pushing an agenda, and they don't care about these people's lives once they have them.
Yeah, because it's not compassionate. They're using these children.
Yep. And
Dwayne Wade is just playing along. So he's actually failing at his one most important role, which is to protect his children. And instead of protecting, this poor child from these predators, he's letting them have them.
He's letting them at his own children. What a monster.
Mm-hmm.
But he is only one douche of this week, but he is not the official douche of the week, for that is reserved for Anne Hathaway. So let us do that now. All right. So, douche of the week this week is Anne Hathaway. And she had an interesting segment on The View. So let's just watch that now and just be in awe of its stupidity.
The Devil Wears Prada did turn 16 this summer.
Yes.
The time flies, boy. So you wrote this on Instagram, quote, "I am struck by the fact that the young female characters in this movie built their lives and careers in a country that honored their right to have choice over their own reproductive health. See you in the fight." So why did you write that? Why was it important to you to write something like that?
Because we're in the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're in the fight every day. We're in the fight every minute. And you mentioned the Devil Wears Prada turning sweet 16.
Yeah.
Some 16-year-old's life has been irrevocably changed because of the current overturning of Roe v. Wade. And in this character, I played a young woman who was starting out her career. And when you are a young woman starting out your career, your reproductive destiny matters a great deal.
Of course. Yeah.
And it had just happened, and I think about it all the time. I think we all think about it all the time, and what its implications are, and what it means to live in a country that puts us in this position again. And so if I were to play that role nowadays, I couldn't take that for granted. I couldn't take that freedom for granted, the freedom of choice. And by the way, this is not a moral conversation about abortion.
Right.
This is a practical conversation about women's rights. And by the way, human rights, because women's rights are human rights. And the freedom that we all need to be able to choose and build our lives and have access to excellent health care.
Okay, so everything about that little stupid little rant that she just kind of went through is so wrong. Like she tries to almost like defend it by saying like, oh, I don't want to have a moral, this is just a practical.
Yep, it's just talking about rights and freedoms.
Yeah, and then she delves into like women's rights, which are human. Like
it's all about reproductive justice and women's rights and human rights.
No. They don't understand basic logic.
Yep.
Which is basically like when you're saying it's just about practical things. I'm like, and then she goes right back into philosophical quandaries about right and wrong. Like, rights are a philosophical debate about what's right and wrong. So it's like they can't even be logically consistent. This is how like Anne Hathaway. Like I do like Anne Hathaway as an actress.
Yes.
I like a lot of her movies. They're enjoyable. They're definitely fun to watch. And, I like her as an actress. I think she's a good actress. But this happens all the time where I can't stand the real life people. The real life people are horrible.
Yep.
And I'm like, ugh, I can't stand, like, Brie Larson, I cannot stand that woman.
I can't stand her acting either.
Yeah, well, she as an actress, I've seen
She used to be. But like the modern roles in which she portrays is just like, it's all just, I have this face. I'm acting.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, but she's had some good roles.
She has.
And she's been, and like the movie that she won the Oscar for, which was Room, I actually enjoyed that movie. I was like, wow, this is actually really decent and really decently acted. I enjoyed watching that movie. But in real life, her activism gets her in trouble. Like Emma Watson. I liked Emma Watson
in the Harry Potter series, yeah.
But
she was a
real
good
life,
Hermione.
she is the most insufferable feminist.
Oh, she's awful.
She is literally, she really is a terrible person in real life. But this is what these vapid celebrities do. They're surrounded by an echo chamber where Hollywood, everyone believes the same thing. Everyone says these euphemisms, and everyone's like trained seals. They're like, "Arr, arr, 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 arr," like they all, and this is the same thing in the View. They're all trained seals. They're like, "Arr, arr, 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 arr," like they're all clapping, right? You can see them. Every one of them is affirming. Like, oh, you're right. Anne Hathaway went off the rails. She's like, oh yeah, the movie I was in, like, so long, turned Sweet 16. Did you know that some 16-year-old somewhere
is affected by lack of access to killing their own kid?
Yeah.
And they're just oh, that's terrible. It's like, no, it's not.
No, it's, well, even if you want to make that case, like, okay, the movie took place in New York. New York is still a abortion,
it's
haven.
A haven.
It's a haven for abortion. Anne Hathaway probably lives either in New York or LA,
or California,
which are both, so they're both havens for abortion. The problem here is that this is a problem with the lunatic left. They cannot stand the idea that anybody else wouldn't support what
wouldn't support their ideology.
Yeah, they can't just be okay with, like, I'll do my thing, you do your thing. No. It's, oh yeah, no, your thing is bad, and you have to do what I want.
Well, like,
and I will tolerate
it always starts in the same fashion. First off, it's just like, well, you worry about your own life, and then you worry about my life. That's how it starts. And then eventually it's, you have to support me and my choices. And it doesn't matter if you don't affect me, but even if you disagree with me, then I have to come after you and I have to punish you.
Mm-hmm. Then eventually it's like, not only do you have to support my choices, you have to applaud them.
Mm-hmm.
You must clap at my choices. Like that was the, remember, like that baseball team? There's a baseball team that decided, like, they couldn't put on the rainbow colors, the Devil Rays, I think it was. Like 5 pitchers decided, like, no, along with it. And there was that one vapid, lady that was on that video we saw, and she was like, no, they're not allowed. They can't have that. They can't, like, they basically
they can't have players who do not promote at every single opportunity, and who do not mindlessly go along with the narrative without questioning any motives as to why.
Right. Now, what is it specifically that made Anne Hathaway, like, because this is just like regular talk that every Hollywood person says about abortion. Like, if you ask Charlize Theron, you ask Beyonce, you ask, like, Taylor Swift, you ask all of them, they'll all say the same thing. Mm-hmm. They'll probably, like, some version of what Anne Hathaway
just said.
But it's what she says next that really set her apart and made her, like, just, like, it's difficult in a sea of crap, like in an ocean of crap, which is what Hollywood is. It's difficult for one turd to rise above the other, to really float to the top. And I think this is what Anne Hathaway has pretty much done with these, like, her next comments.
Yeah. So let us now watch The Rising River of Turd.
Mm-hmm.
Should be interesting.
Without going into too many details, my own personal experience with abortion, and I don't think we talk about this enough, abortion can be another word for mercy. We don't know. It's not a world in which we know that no 2 pregnancies are alike, and it follows that no 2 lives are alike. That follows that no 2 conceptions are alike.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So how can we have a law? How can we have a point of view on this that says we must treat everything the same? And where I come at it from is when you allow for choice, you allow for flexibility, which is what we need in order to be human. So that anyway, I just wanted to include that part.
Okay,
Especially for that. It's not set in stone. Just because you get pregnant doesn't mean you get to keep that baby.
Yeah, it's a health decision.
And it can be.
It's
it really can be.
decision.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's not. Oh my gosh, you evil. Like, I didn't even see that second part.
No?
Like, when I saw the first part, because I had my headphone die today, and so I was just like, I listened to the first part, but I didn't get to hear the second part. And so I was like, the first part is bad enough. But the second part is
even worse.
so much worse. And so that was like my live reaction. Just like we had a live reaction on Tuesday, which was actually live for somebody, but not for other people.
You know the full story. Anyways, like
Anyways,
missing the point.
no.
Missing the point here.
Abortion being a mercy?
Can you go back to what she said? Like, actually, like, replay that really, really quick. Like,
Sure.
what she said about abortion.
Many details, my own personal experience with abortion, and I don't think we talk about this enough. Abortion can be another word for mercy.
Pause.
We don't know. We don't.
Right there. Pause. Okay, so a rapid leftist saying that abortion is mercy, that killing hundreds of people, thousands of people, millions of people can be a form of mercy. Where have I heard that? I feel like I've heard this somewhere before, Stephen. Somewhere where some lunatics somewhere, like, said something similar. Like, I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it. Like, where have I heard this before? Like it seems like something like a lunatic, insane person would say. Like, have you heard, any idea, Stephen, where this may have been said before? Any clue?
I know it's been used to refer to euthanasia.
Did you actually queue up that clip I told you to queue up?
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah, and like, literally, I'm so subtle. Like, I'm looking at you.
Fine.
So where have you seen this before, Stephen? And make sure you put it on the screen.
Oh, I will.
I work so hard to set these things up, and it's
Just
just
set
the
this
help
up.
that I get.
Yeah.
All
See,
right,
this
so
is why
go
I was so confused. But I'm like, why are you putting Thanos here? This is dumb. And then I'm like, I get it now.
Right over his head.
Well, that's what happens if I don't finish the segment because my headphones die.
Play the clip.
Survivor. Who wants to murder trillions?
With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist. I call that mercy.
I just got a glimpse of Anne Hathaway right there. Oh, you can stop right there.
Yeah. You know what other people call, madmen call mercy. Most people call genocide.
Mm-hmm.
Which is exactly what Doctor Strange says.
Yeah. It's like, who wants to murder trillions? That's what Thanos, this is the kind of thinking that Thanos was saying. He actually said it first. He actually said that it's mercy to, like, annihilate and, like, completely annihilate, like, an entire segment of society. And Hathaway had the audacity to say something similar to Thanos, which is crazy. You know what she basically did? She did something that you never do. And here's what, Stephen, I'm gonna have to literally give it to you. You're gonna have to queue up the second part. This is something you never do, Stephen. You never do something. What is it that you never do, Stephen?
You never go full retard.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard. You don't buy that? Yeah, Sean Penn, 2001, I am Sam. Remember?
Stop.
Went full retard. Went home empty-handed.
You never go full retard.
Anne Hathaway, don't you know? You never go full retard. You just never do. But she went there. It was so bad. I was like, oh my gosh.
I'm making a tweet right now. It says abortion is not mercy. Never go full retard.
I think Matt Walsh really covered it. He basically said there's 2 possibilities. What does she mean by that? Abortion is a mercy to the child? No, it's not. Like exterminating a child in order for your own sake is not mercy. That is murder, and that is, like, actually as selfish as you can get. you die so I can have a better life. That is like as selfish as you get. The other possibility is it a mercy to the woman? No, a mercy to the woman would be to provide her with every possible resource or help that she can get in order that she can fulfill her now existent role as a mother. Because believe it or not, once there's a baby growing inside of you, you're not going to be a mother. You are a mother, right? And Anne Hathaway tried to basically whittle it down to a like, oh, not every pregnancy is the same, not every conception is the same, that they're all different. I'm like, so you're saying that some children deserve to die and some don't? Like, that's basically her thinking. So this is why when I heard that, I was like, this sounds like exactly like Thanos. It's the exact same thing. You're basically saying, well, it's for the greater good. The greater good. That everyone must die for our sake. And like, look at the way she was framing. It's like, oh, all these women, like, now they don't have a choice. I'm like, the choice to do what? You don't have a choice to murder your children? That isn't a viable choice, right? I was like, oh, it's about women's rights. Like, women's rights are human rights. You don't have a right to murder your children.
You don't.
That isn't a right that is given to you, and that nobody can give you that right any more than a slave owner has a right to own a human being, right?
Well, yeah,
These are
like
not
it's
rights,
simple.
these are
It's like, oh, well, what about bodily autonomy? It's like, my rights to bodily autonomy end at the tip of your nose. That's a common phrase because I have right to use my body until it harms another person. Yeah. And of course, abortion is one of the most clear and obvious acts of harm that one can make.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like, going back to the abortion being a mercy. Like, I just want to go full rant on this BS. Like, this is entirely back to the idea that abortion because of poverty, abortion because of pain, abortion because of potential suffering is totally justifiable. That is nonsense, and it is absolute shite. Because it totally says, well, you're poor. You're a lesser human than me. Oh, you're sick. You're a lesser human than me. Oh, you might suffer in your life because your parents are probably not the greatest. Oh, you're a lesser human than me. No, we're all equal humans. We're all in different circumstances. And it is our job as those who have gifts, who have abilities, who have wealth, to share it. Not by force of government, but to share it with those less fortunate, because we have compassion and generosity. And we are to help them so they can achieve great things on their own.
Yeah.
But killing them is not the answer.
No. The rule of thumb I always have is if the rule that you're making about why it would be okay to kill this, like, baby in the womb, if that rule does not apply if that rule doesn't work for a baby outside of the womb, then it cannot work for a baby inside of the womb. For example, if you say, like, well, they're going to have a bad life. And I ask the question, okay, does that apply to a 1-year-old? Well, no. Like, then the problem isn't that it's okay to kill someone if they would have a bad life. It's that you don't believe that they're human. It always comes back to the same thing. Oh, well, I can't really raise him. I'm like, well, okay, would that work for a 1-year-old? Well, no, you don't have a right to kill your 1-year-old child, because you're going to be poor. You can't support him. Like, give me any excuse for why it's okay to kill this child, and if it doesn't work for a 1-year-old, then it doesn't work.
Yep.
Any excuse, right?
I heard a real dumb one today.
What was that?
I heard the excuse saying that it is cruel and unusual punishment to prevent a woman from having an abortion because young children in the early stages of fetal development are more likely to miscarry, and so that makes them not human.
So basically, in a country, so let's take that logic and let's move that logic in.
Yeah.
A country like that has, like, very, very poor healthcare, like India, like I don't know, some country in the Far East or something like that, or Africa. Like the child mortality rate is very
much higher. Yeah.
Does that mean that those children, you can kill them because of the fact that they might die early on anyway. Like the logic falls apart. This is how dumb.
That's exact. Like that is almost not quite word for word. I went a little bit of a different angle.
Logic, yeah.
Well, but it's the same logic. I was like, okay, so we're basically saying that those who are sick and the infirm, because they have a higher mortality, they're lesser human. And then she stopped responding.
Yeah, my favorite is when people say like, well, they're going to have a hard life. I'm like, so tell me this.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that, like they might have a hard life, so we should kill them now. I'm like, so does that mean that if I can go to Africa or I can go to India or I can go to Bangladesh or whatever, and I find just a whole bunch of orphans that are living on the street and they're basically, starving to death, and I'm like, I can literally go there and round them up in a little truck and take them off, and we can basically kill them all, because that's going to solve the problem of child hunger, because they're going to suffer. I'm like, it's obviously cruel and unusual and terrible, but this is how vapid these people are and their arguments are. So Anne Hathaway is just the problem is, yes, she's a leftist, yes, she goes there, but the fact that she wants to take a turd and paint it in gold paint, call it mercy.
Yep.
And it's still a horrible thing. But this is how horrible these people are. So she went one step too far in trying to give it some sort of noble kind of name. But as a result, Anne Hathaway went full retard, and you never go full retard. That's the rule. Never go retard. And then this is why Anne Hathaway this week is the
douche of the week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's where we're going to end today's show. For those who have joined us, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for those who were present on the chat. It was mostly entertaining, but due to some technical glitches of other people, wasn't as active as it could have been, but there's always next week. Actually, there's always Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, if you want to check out our content later, especially the segmented segments, then you can find us on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube. We appreciate the added attention, added subs, added viewership that we have on YouTube. Of course, be wary. YouTube is a very censorious platform. They can strike you at a whim.
Steven Crowder's a good example of that.
Yep, Steven Crowder's going to be offline until after the midterms. So we like the viewership, but please check out our other channels. Eventually, we might have to just start live streaming on Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
So might be something we have to do going forward. We'll take a look. Rumble makes us more money in the short term anyway. Mm-hmm. Even though we don't make, I think right now Rumble owes us all of a total of about $1. So haven't cashed out yet, saving it for a rainy day. But if you're following us on those platforms, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, the whole kit and caboodle. And of course, if you're following us on our text platforms such as Facebook, Parler, Gitter, and Twitter, then tell us how we're doing. Tell us how you feel. Leave us a review. Make sure it's 5 stars to counteract the liberal nonsense, especially on Facebook, because they come at us super hard. Because
they're very, very loud.
Yeah, they're very loud and stupid.
Yeah. Just a quick shout out to our friend Shelly, awesome supporter. Shell, you're awesome. And also Conquerworm. I don't know if what you mean by is Anne's supposed to be the right voice on The View. I mean, clearly she's not.
Anne is just a guest. I think Anna Navarro was supposed to be the right voice on The View, but she's gone.
Oh, you mean like the right wing voice?
Yeah. Because now the current right-wing or supposed right-wing voice is the Alyssa Farah Griffin.
Yeah, and she says Republican.
She's as Republican as Liz Cheney.
Yeah,
actually, she's less Republican than Liz Cheney.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
these are the fake Republic.
They are Republic shills. They are Republic shills.
They talk all the time about diversity, we have to have so much diversity, and but that always stops in intellectual diversity.
Yes,
they don't.
That's why they hate Candace.
Yeah, Candace Cameron Bure.
Oh, that too. Candace Cameron Bure and Candace Owens.
Yeah, and they had Candace Cameron Bure on the show.
On the show, and she destroyed them.
They hated her.
Oh, they hated her because she used to be a host. She used to be the actual conservative, and then they got rid of her because she kept pointing out all the things in which they did terribly at. Meghan McCain was actually not terrible.
She was all right.
She was all right, but she did have certain... Candace Cameron Bure was way better.
She was so good. I was actually contemplating watching the show when she was like, just because I'm a big fan of hers.
Oh, are you talking about Ted Cruz being a rhino? Really?
Ted Cruz being a rhino?
I would not say that Ted Cruz is a rhino.
No, actually,
Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was great on The View. Yes,
he was.
Ted, yes. Okay, I was like, I don't think he's a rhino. He's actually from Calgary, so he could run in our elections. Please, Ted Cruz, come back to Canada.
Nah, not
save
gonna
us.
Happen. He's forsaken Canada.
Ted Cruz just annihilated The View.
Yeah, he did. It was so
I'm just
good.
like watching my face. Oh my gosh. My face doing the save us.
Yeah. They were like, "Oh, you brought some like notes." I'm like, "Well, you kind of have to with you,
with you guys, because
they were all
some of us
jumping on
have to have receipts to debunk your garbage."
So true.
Yeah. So
good on him.
For going good on Ted Cruz. Good on Candace Cameron Bure. And The View should be unequivocally shunned.
Forever.
That being said, of course, Tuesday will be special. I do not know what time we're going to start live streaming. It all depends on how the setup works at JoJo's house and how the results come in and when they come in. I'll be announcing on Facebook and Twitter and Gitter and Parlor. Generally, when we're going to be live streaming, it's probably going to be in like chunks because we don't have enough active conversations to live stream for 4 hours straight. So it'll probably be a little bit different than our election night coverage of 2020, which I don't believe almost anybody here was watching because that was 2 years ago. And that was on 2 channels ago. Yep. So times have changed. And so is our presentation.
That's right.
We've gotten a lot more polished, which is good. The way that our show appears now is much crisper, much more suave, and it just sounds way better.
Yeah, that's right.
We've put in a lot of time and work and effort on this show, and now it's starting to pay off.
Yeah, actually, big shout out to Conquerworm for this amazing mic because this thing has made all the difference.
Yeah, big shout out to my dad for buying this microphone for him. He bought this with the thought that Center Street's orchestra would be doing more online shows. And then they went and did all their shows in person. He's just like, okay, I guess you just get a free microphone out of this. And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Is this backwards? I thought it'd be like fine up or down.
Really?
Yeah, he said it's supposed to be. Is this supposed to be like this? I don't know. I just figure it works that way. The only sad thing about the I guess I can turn it.
Does it sound better?
I think I don't know. I don't know if this sounds better. And Conquerworm says it's supposed to be
labeled towards you. Okay.
Not sure what that means.
Well, no, it means labeled towards your body.
I guess. I just assumed that
a media a med. Oh, okay. It works. Okay.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. There was a diagram on my old mic where it was do not speak directly into the mic. You had to speak into the side.
Really?
So it does it has a different vocal and sound range depending on where you're speaking and how it collects the sound. So I haven't looked into it a while for this microphone, but we'll see.
Cool. Okay.
It works. So it works. It records better sound than what we used to have. Going back to our first few shows, when I started this back in April of 2020. Oh my gosh. The static was just terrible. You speak into the logo. Interesting.
Speak into the logo? I don't know. I'll have to watch a YouTube video to figure out how this thing's supposed to work.
All right. Well, until then, we will see you on Tuesday for the live stream extravaganza of Tuesday. Until then, have a great weekend, everybody. And Denny, sign us up.
We're the Shrewd Dudes, and we like to remind you, as always, why be rude when you can be shrewd instead.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you again on Tuesday.
Yep. See, for not a Tuesday news day.
Well, exactly.
For a midterm Tuesday.
Midterm Tuesday.
For a red wave beyond all reckoning and imagining.
Or like Joe Rogan said, it's going to be like that scene from The Shining.
Yeah, it's going to be like that scene.
The elevators open up, like,
yeah.
I just going to be washed away.
Until 2 days later when the Democrats count their double votes.
Yeah.
And then, like, what was they said? It would be a red mirage.
The ghost of Chavez will return for a second helping.
Republicans who are watching those polls, keep your cameras on, keep watching, stay strong.
That's right.
And, as always, God bless.